Go. All right, we are live. So again, Lauren, I'm probably going to butcher it, but Lauren Jeffries, did I get that right?
That's correct.
Woohoo! Welcome. So I got to do the dab, because I'm trying to be young. That was from about 20 years ago. Uh, Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Coffee and Conversations with Champions. You are our first weightlifter. So I got to do one of these. That's really cool. So thank you for joining us on the show. We've had strongman, arm wrestlers, slap fighters, strict arm curlers, obviously lots of powerlifters, and our first Olympic weightlifter. So thank you for
Yeah.
joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, groovy. So tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, and then let's chat about the sport. And then also you're here for quite a special reason because we're wanting to do a little bit of exposure for you so we can help with the fundraising to compete. Because that's one thing with South Africa, they stick us furthest away from anyone and give us a currency that's worth nothing. And
Yes.
you need to sell 3 kidneys to go overseas and compete. So firstly, let's
Yeah.
start off.
Well,
Who?
I have
Yep.
the good thing I have extra.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have made it this far.
No, 100%. So who are you? Who's Lauren Jeffries? And then let's chat about a little bit about your career in weightlifting.
Okay, so I'm Lauren Jeffries, and I am a South African fashion designer and an Olympic weightlifter. Um, so I have quite a bit of very different things going on.
Mm-hmm.
I was a fashion designer first. I found weightlifting through the sport of CrossFit. I started competing in CrossFit, and then
Do you want to give a shout
at
out to the
about
box?
I started at CrossFit Platinum. That's where I
Okay,
started.
cool.
And then in 2020, I started working for myself full time. So training as a competitive CrossFit athlete was a bit much,
Mm-hmm.
as I was focusing on business more. And so I decided to um, do weightlifting full time. So I have been training since 2020 at Movement Crew with Matthew Hearn as my coach. And I think I did my first Olympic weightlifting competition in 2020, and I was hooked ever since.
What was it about the sport that grabbed you?
So I think out of like CrossFit is a very wide sport with a lot of
Mm.
different things, and weightlifting was my favorite part of CrossFit. So that's why I decided to pursue weightlifting. Um, I don't think I came into CrossFit strong, but my strength developed very quickly and it developed the fastest out of all the skills.
Okay.
So it was just definitely my favorite. Anything with a heavy barbell was my jam.
Right, you effectively, and I'm very fortunate enough to have been exposed and worked with some really good weightlifting coaches, and over the last probably 15 years, you picked in reality probably the toughest sport in the world in terms of performance. 'Cause I think Olympic weightlifters are the second strongest athletes, probably after powerlifters. Sorry, strongman. But you're the most explosive and probably the second most flexible after gymnasts. And it's an
Yes.
incredibly demanding. I mean, I'm chatting to you and I'm thinking first sequence, second sequence, they're going mad. And with my coach Steve, I don't think I've lifted a bar overhead in a long time, but it's incredibly technical. That's why they call powerlifting the dumb lift. Really, really, really tough sport. You're wanting to start off at the age of, I think, about 3 months in the womb. That's usually when they start the athletes, particularly in Eastern Europe. Very, very tough. What on earth? I mean, so why not powerlifting? Why weightlifting? What was it that drew you?
I never really considered weightlifting.
Mm,
I've always loved snatch and clean and jerk. It's always been my favorite movement. I think deadlift and bench press are not my absolute favorite, so that wasn't an immediate thing.
right.
Um, but also because I've worked with Matthew Hearn, who is a strength coach,
The
all
Hearn is,
sports, but
and just on that, sorry to interrupt, Lauren, but the Hearn is watching. So,
good. You better.
yeah, fair enough. Okay, cool. Yeah. So you
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we, or this is a little sidebar. Not a lot of people know it, but I think the first time um, I went to go and train with him, I had like a 70 something snatch
hmm
and a 90 something clean and jerk at the time. And then the first day that I did a session with him, I got my 80 snatch and my 100 clean and jerk, which
Sure.
was like
Okay.
over the moon. And
I think for people who aren't weightlifters, don't really understand how insane that is. I mean, that's phenomenal.
yeah, so I did come into the sport
Mm.
strong. Um, but he said to me, "Oh, that was so easy. I can snatch 100." So now we're trying to snatch 100.
Oh,
That's the
epic.
goal.
So we have a message from him that, here we go. Let me put that on screen quickly. So there we go. Always here for support.
Good.
Cool. So, so that was your first sort of session. Tell us about your first comp. What was that like?
Sure. So it's quite hectic because I suppose if you don't do strength sports, you get three opportunities to get a best snatch and three
hmm
opportunities to get a best clean and jerk. Um, and I mean, if you're training for competition, you're training hours and hours and hours, and you literally, I think I've calculated it to 90 seconds in total to complete those lifts and make it count.
Right.
And
And
the
sorry,
margin
that's
of
from the
error,
time bar is loaded till the time you get it up and then and leave the platform. It's not under
yes.
load.
So
It's yeah.
on average, a snatch takes about 10 seconds and a clean and jerk
Mm,
is about 20 seconds.
okay.
So if you calculate that correctly together,
Mm,
it
mm,
gives you 90 seconds.
sure.
So the margin of error is very, very small. You kind of have to you have to train hours and hours and put loads and loads of work in and make it count in those seconds.
hmm
I think in my first competition, I took a silver medal, which was surprising for me, but I was happy with that. And yeah, it's been amazing ever since. I'm very blessed to, even though I came into the sport later than ideally, like you say, 3 months in the womb.
yeah.
I did come into the sport later, but I've been very blessed to be able to continue this long, and I still feel like I haven't peaked yet.
Oh,
So that's very exciting.
phenomenal. Just about the lifting side quickly, and then I want to move on to the upcoming competition and sort of where how your career has evolved. What's it like for you, if you could describe it to someone who hasn't experienced it, with a snatch, where when that bar lands and you get it in the right position and you're in the right position, your feet are in the right position, and you just feel it settle, and you know all you got to do is stand up. You know that the in essence the work is almost done, right? What's that like for you?
So I must say, I think I've had my most exciting lifts in training. I
hmm
feel like I really love training. The daily grind is actually my favorite, more so than the competition, because competitions do make me nervous. But when you've caught that snatch, the lift isn't over on the platform because
Yeah.
you still have to stand up and you're not
hmm
allowed to bend your elbows as
Yeah.
you stand up. So I think once you've caught it and you feel it land and it's tight and you stand up and you have it overhead, then that kind of nothing can really nothing can really
Compare.
top that
Yeah.
feeling. Um, but
Sure.
yeah, I'm definitely a training athlete. I love training
hmm
with my team every single day. That's kind of what keeps me going.
Sure. They're absolutely phenomenal. For the competition that's coming up now, tell us a little bit about that and how did you get there?
So the competition is the Commonwealth Championship, which is in August from the 24th to the 30th. Um, this is the qualifying event for the Commonwealth Games next year. So I have to compete at this competition to be eligible for selection for the Commonwealth Games.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have already qualified for the competition, so at the moment I'm just training for it, and I'm busy fundraising because I need to get myself and my coach to the competition. Yes.
And so I think that's also something that's really important that perhaps members of the public don't understand, that the support, for these sports, it's the athletes that's really responsible for bringing the coach over as well. And it's not like you see in movies where there's team coaches and everything's covered and everything's provided for. You have to cover these costs yourself. You've got to bring the coach over. You've got to, you house the coach, feed the coach, cover those costs. And it can get really, really expensive. Looking at international comps, you're looking at, maybe 80,000 Rand per person, depending on where you're traveling to. You need time at the competition before you compete to adjust to whether it's climate, altitude, to reduce weight from the travel. Sometimes we pick up 5, 6, 7 kilos from travel, and that can then affect us, to recover if it's a different time zone, all of these things. And then also, hopefully, you get a little bit of fun at the end of the day, maybe a little bit of touring and stuff. But there's nothing really that's being done by athletes at international competition that's self-indulgent. You're there for a reason. So tell us about where
Yeah.
the competition is. How long are you planning on going for? What are the costs? Can you chat about that? And then what are the fundraising initiatives that you're doing?
So I don't want to butcher this name, but I think the competition is in Ahmedabad in India.
There's no reason
And
I asked that, by the way.
are you
Yep.
trying to catch me out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have to fly
Mm,
to Ahmedabad.
mm.
And with the IWF, you have to stay at their
Yep.
accommodation for a minimum of, I think they've reduced it to 3 days now, but
Okay.
it's generally 4 days. And that's to be eligible for dope
Yeah,
testing during
that's
the
for testing.
competition.
You're right. Yep.
So you can't stay wherever you like at a cheap
Mm,
accommodation, and those accommodation prices are in dollars. So everything is 10 times more than
mm-hmm.
it's not like you can get an Airbnb and stay close by.
Yeah.
There are certain things that are set out. So there's a minimum amount of days that we have to stay. Um,
Because also,
the
oh, yep. Sorry, go ahead.
the food and travel to training and things are
Mm,
included in that price, but the price is still quite hefty if you consider the locations that we're competing in.
mm-hmm.
And then we need flights and the entry and anti-doping fees, which are all part of the total sum that I'm raising. I think I've calculated to 63,400
Okay.
for the
Is
both
that
of us.
for both of you guys? Okay. So you're really
Yes.
going in very, very cost effectively. You're not going
Yes.
big.
So when I am raising funds, I'm not really padding it at all.
Mm,
It's basically the hard costs, flights, the accommodation, the entry fees. There is obviously other costs that go into this that are not taken into account. For example, being able to still run your respective businesses when you are
mm-hmm.
not there, because most athletes and coaches are employed aside from the competing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those are basically just the hard costs. Um, yeah.
That I said. From my side, that's, I think I would say, rather be looking at about 80, because you're covering yourself. And in reality, you don't want to be over there having made it all the way over, and then there are unforeseen expenses that can be very, very stressful. And just on that, I think I get the sense your coach is not charging for the time, you just covering the cost.
Yes.
Yeah, so I kind of picked that up in how, and which is amazing, because this is giving up a week or two of the business in order to travel
Yes.
and come and support the athlete. So this is why I'm so passionate about this, because it's not just about the experience of going and competing, it's what the athletes bring back, what they share at the gym, what they share with people that they talk to. We've seen weightlifting has grown within South Africa. It is a very, very technical sport. Powerlifting, as an example, they call the dumb sport, because it's much less technical on the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. They're still very technical lifts, particularly the bench press, but they're a lot easier to coach and they're a lot easier to learn. To compete at elite level in weightlifting, you really need great coaching, world-class coaching, and even to compete in weightlifting at a base level, you need great coaching because you're putting the weight overhead. So there's always a huge
Yeah.
risk on this. But we've seen clubs growing in Soweto. We've seen these clubs growing up all over the place. And I think for weightlifting, the same as with powerlifting, or really any of the strength sports that we get to work with, it's so valuable for self-development, for the development of self-worth, the development of self-esteem, for getting youth off the streets, for getting them into the gyms and letting them believe in themselves, as well as teaching delayed gratification. It's
Yes.
essential if you want to be an elite level athlete, that you learn delayed gratification. And I know that this is why businesses, companies need to get behind athletes that are going and representing South Africa, because for one reason and one reason alone, it's what those athletes bring back in terms of the story. Now, we've seen everyone going crazy for Reno Nell. He's now the world's strongest man. Absolutely incredible. The South African athletes doing really well. We got our young golfers rocking it. We've got powerlifters breaking 1,200 kilo totals. Absolutely incredible. But with the weightlifting, why it's so important is the stories and the experience that the lifters bring back. What does this trip
Yeah.
mean for you as an athlete, and what do you see, that you will be bringing back from the competition?
So I think, sure, it's such a big question.
Sorry.
um, it's
Yeah.
okay. So I think it's quite interesting because when I entered when I entered the sport, I mean, you're just going to gym, you're staying fit, you're competing to test yourself, and you're kind of just playing around. You're not necessarily thinking about setting an example for people or that people might be watching what you're doing, because you are basically just focusing on yourself. But I think throughout the sport and through my development in the sport, I think it's natural for you to become like an example or to inspire people or to hopefully show them what is possible. So I think my message would be to say, because I don't come from a background of sport history, I did no
Hmm.
sports in school, anything like that, that if I can do it, anyone can do it. And I am 33 now. And if I can lift these weights at this age, it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that because you're over 30, you kind of retire to the bench. You know, it's limitless. It's how badly do you want it? And I think, working with younger lifters as well, and hopefully inspiring younger lifters or just showing them what is possible. Because I suppose without the examples, you might not find the inspiration yourself.
Hmm. Very
So
good
I
point.
think that's really powerful. And I think if I can just say that, like, my message for competing and to pursue this, beyond representing the country and anything, is that if you want to achieve anything, it's possible. And I do have a very good team. I'm very well supported. So I think that definitely helps. So I think Commonwealth Games, to be able to qualify for that would be an absolute honor and dream. Don't think I would have. I don't think I thought that that would have been possible when I started in the sport.
Hmm.
Um, so I think I'm a bit too, like, I think Olympics is a bit far, and I think South Africa needs a lot more work before Olympics is a realistic goal for South Africans at this moment. But if I can make my country proud at the Commonwealth Games, and if I can snag a medal, then I think it will all be worth it. It
Absolutely.
will help to complete the story. But something I wanted to touch on when we were also talking about coaching, which I think is something that people don't think about often,
Mm.
and that, I'm not just fundraising for myself, but for my coach as well. And I think that people discount the importance, because even though so South Africa doesn't have a standard team that's coached by one coach. There's different boxes or different
Mm-hmm.
clubs with different coaches. And you obviously work well with your coach. You speak the same language. You know, they can produce the best performance in you, and you have that trust in them. So I think having somebody there, also, there are different jobs that different people do.
Mm-hmm.
So having my coach there allows me to just lift.
Yeah.
All I have to do is focus on lifting the bar. I don't have to think about what anyone else is doing, how to try and beat anybody else, what the numbers or the board or any of those small details are. And I think it is also a bit of a luxury to have that, because I think some athletes don't have that. But it's incredibly important, even though it's an individual sport, we very much work as a team when we compete. And I think if I had to sit there and think about all of that stuff as well, or have to just trust some random person to do it for me, I don't know if it would produce the best results. So I think that's also very important.
100%. You know, there can be, and it's such a great point. There can be world-class coaches, but if they don't have the experience of that time with you, they are not able to understand the body language that they read, your energy levels, how you're walking in. It also goes down to having a coach. It's something as simple as not having to load your own weights, not worrying about finding a warm-up platform. You forget something, there's someone to run and get it for you. All of these things, there's someone to watch the numbers, the clock, and listen out for your name. You said, as you said so rightly, you just focus on your lifting. And also the point of having a coach and taking a coach with you. As you, the athlete, bring back the experience to benefit the country, so does the coach. And I think that's
Yeah,
absolutely vital. You can't have your best performance if you're not able to take your coach. It's very, very unlikely, because you work as a team, as you said.
yes. Because Matthew will ask me, what do you want on the bar? Then I'll just say, whatever he puts on, I'll lift it. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter. Like that's not what I'm thinking about. I must just focus on the lift. The weight is not really relevant to
yeah.
me during competition.
You trust the coach and do it. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. For Tell us a little bit about Commonwealth Games. Where is that?
I think it's in Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if
They're
it's
finalized.
confirmed, because
Okay.
it's changed before. So I'm not sure if that location is confirmed. But as far as I know, it's in Glasgow.
Okay. That's also going to be great with the time zones. And we're getting prepped now for the weather, which is good.
It's freezing.
From what does being strong mean to you, and why is the development of physical strength important?
So I think specifically as a woman, I think women are not necessarily taught from little to take up space or
Mm.
to be loud or to be explosive or to be strong, which I think it's not black and white. Obviously, I'm generalizing,
But
but
it's pretty accepted. I mean, it is pretty general.
yes. So things, I mean, weightlifting, I think, is not very feminine, but I think the feminine can be very fierce.
Hmm.
And there is actually a lot of power in women that from a young age you are kind of taught to bottle up and present yourself a certain way. And so I think for me, to be able to experience my strength in its full capacity and I suppose manifest it in a physical form is amazing. And I feel like all women should have the opportunity to feel what their bodies are capable of, because women are not weak or small or meek. And I think it's very good to develop that strength within yourself, because I think it develops strength within you emotionally as well as physically
Hmm.
and psychologically. Weightlifting is also a very mental sport, and it's a very tough sport. Um, it gives you this much And then you must be happy, and then you must train for days and days and weeks and months. And I mean, I'm not like PBing all the time. It really happens maybe once or twice a year if I'm
Mm.
lucky. But yes, I think for me that's what strength means to me, is to be able to kind of realize my power in its physical form and be able to completely display it. But you don't have to walk around like angry and aggressive all the time. You can save that for the platform.
For sure. And, the strength can be displayed in a beautiful way. It can be displayed in a very creative way. And,
Yes.
yeah, and I think
It's also very graceful.
very graceful. And I think the beautiful thing about strength is we can display it in the way that we interpret it and that it's valuable to us. And that way, we can show the world how we are strong and what it means to us.
Mm.
But I think the opportunity to use physical exercise and physical training as a way to develop physical strength, and then from that, as you said, it's a wonderful thing about your first year in lifting, with what the PBs keep coming, and you think, hey, this is
Yeah.
great. But it teaches
Yeah.
you, and you can learn physical, or you can learn emotional strength and mental strength from the development of physical strength. And the beautiful thing about lifting is it's linear, and it teaches us a lot. If we look at sort of representing South Africa, which is really, really cool, it's something that's very special. Growing up, you mentioned no real sport at school. Is it something that you thought you would be able to do, that was even on the cards?
Not at all. Not at all. I think when I first started, even in CrossFit, my family would make fun of me because I was the art student at school. I mean, I was in the classroom working on my artworks, like the geeky art girl. I wasn't I wasn't involved in sports at all. So it was very unlike me to choose something like this. But I guess it just found me in life, and I'm very like type A personality. So if I go in all the way. I don't kind of dabble.
Mm.
So I think when the bug bit me, it was, you kind of just make your entire world about this thing, and somehow being an entrepreneur, still sleeping, eating, and training like an athlete, just
Oh,
becomes your lifestyle, I guess.
yeah, absolutely. And it becomes a very interesting lifestyle because it's a good balancing act, being torn between your two passions. For you,
Yes.
in terms of the green and gold, that green blazer, that tracksuit, the tog bag with your nation's flag on it, that you're going to be carrying your kit in, all of these wonderful things. Is there something that sort of what has that been like for you?
It's a little bit surreal because it's kind of hard to picture, especially when you walk into the competitions overseas, and like the IWF's color is blue, so everything is like kitted out, blue carpets.
Mm.
It feels like you're walking onto a TV set. It doesn't feel real. Um, you kind of constantly pinching yourself that it's happening now, it's happening now. It's not like this is not something that you just thought of, it's really happening now. So it's very surreal. Um I don't kind of expect anything in life. I feel like I work
Mhm.
for everything that I have. So even though I have earned it, it's still surreal, and I'm still grateful, and yeah, it's really amazing.
Oh, absolutely phenomenal. I love that. From a design point of view, purely on a light-hearted note, any improvements on the tracksuit? Because the reason I ask this,
The South African tracksuit.
from a powerlifting point of view, our tracksuit is phenomenal. It's from 1970. It's just, yeah, it's cool. People do like it. I think in powerlifting, Japan has the best tracksuit in the world. It's white. It's epic. The British guys do with the Union Jack on this. But is there anything you would do to enhance the South African tracksuit?
So I think the latest ones are actually not that bad. I think if I'm not mistaken, they have like a yellow zigzag across them.
Okay,
Those
cool.
ones aren't that bad. I think for me, it's just I just don't know why the tracksuit has to be entirely green because it's not a particularly flattering color. But that is our nation's colors, so we can't argue with it. But
Mm.
I like the latest design that has these. If you add geometric lines and you play with the
Hmm.
like the gold or the yellow across it, I think that would make it look better. But if it's just plain green with the yellow stripe down the side, then yeah,
Yeah. So I think
it's
my,
great.
my my call out here to, in a fun, loving way, to South African weightlifting. I think once you're back from India, they need to have a chat. To I think it would be very cool for you to design the tracksuit that you will be wearing at Commonwealth. I think that is something that we need to look at. And I like causing trouble and chaos and planting seeds. So there
I
you
don't
go.
know if we can make it to the tracksuits, but
Yep.
we do design the singlets.
Okay,
So
fab.
at least, yeah.
We have a chance to do
So
that.
we have some scope over that. But
Perfect.
South African tracksuits, I don't know if that's that might be above my.
Nah, I don't know. I think, listen, I got my little pencil. I'll poke that. Why not? If you don't put it out there, nothing's going to happen. So, on a slightly more serious question, particularly with kids, and I was chatting to a wonderful strongman before this. Sorry, that's why we ran a little bit late. I always do this to myself. I batch our podcasts and then I could chat to the athletes for hours. But South African kids have been through so much. We have such challenges at our schools, from, whether it's financial challenges, even just food and resources, but to the youth really being hammered with the pandemic, being isolated, lacking those connection skills, being stuck indoors on a couch, maybe on an iPad, or not having that skill set. If we could have weightlifting introduced to every school, and this is quite a big question, what difference do you think it could make to the youth of our country having access to weightlifting? Maybe not every school, but having an access to a gym. I think let's make it part of the school curriculum.
So I'm not going to say to a gym, but I'm going to
Mm.
say all schools should be practicing weightlifting. I think it teaches excellent body awareness. It teaches grit. It teaches you have to. It teaches self-confidence. You have to be able to walk onto a stage by yourself. Um, and Matthew and I have actually approached schools to try and get it into schools because also to develop Olympic talent in the country, we have
Hmm.
to develop it on the grassroots level. And I think a lot of people are still scared that it's going to stunt growth or it's, going to affect the children growing up, but it doesn't. It
Mm.
actually strengthens your bones. It develops your muscles. It creates excellent movement patterns. So I would really urge any school that would be interested to please get in touch
Get in
because
touch, yeah.
uh,
Even for the
it's
opportunity.
definitely,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, it's definitely something that should be. It's I think all the Olympic sports should have
Mm-hmm.
some roots in the schools, and unfortunately, I think in Cape Town there are some schools that have it, but not in the
Mm.
Johannesburg yet.
It's absolutely vital, because it's not only the physical and the body awareness, and which is so important for teaching a kid that you must love your body for what it can do, not what it looks like. I mean, if you look at some of the super heavyweights, you got guys that are not looking cover model in shape, but they can box jump their own height, and that's over, nearly 6 foot high, or over 6 foot. The incredible athletes, and it's a love and a passion for the body. And it's something that definitely should be in every school. And I'd like to put something out there to the schools, if you would be up for it, that when you come back, if you have the opportunities for schools to invite you to go and speak, that you may have been the art nerd, but it doesn't mean you cannot stand, at a medal ceremony in your national tracksuit with a medal around your
Yes,
neck. And
yes,
there is
and
that.
there's so much potential in South Africa. There's
Absolute.
like
Yeah.
we really have the potential, but we have to develop the from a youth age and up. Otherwise, by the time the adults get to the international platform, like myself, um, those athletes have been competing since they were juniors and youth athletes,
Yeah.
and this is my first international competition. The scenario is. So then you're already 10 steps behind everybody. So I'm very blessed to have competed on the stages that I have internationally. But those athletes that I compete against have been competing their whole life.
Yeah.
And you're trying to play catch up, and to be able to still medal and compete with athletes like that is an incredible honor, and it's amazing. But we have so much potential in the country that I can't wait for it to be developed to show what South Africa can really do.
Absolutely. And we're kicking butt in so many sports as well. So absolutely
Yes.
weightlifting. I just want to chat to you about sort of how you fundraising, how people can help. And then we'll wrap up with some of my 4 favorite questions for athletes, which I'm really looking forward to. So how do people support you if they want to get in touch, they want to support? Is there a fundraising initiative? What are you guys doing?
Okay, so I do have my Backer Buddy link that is going. The link is on my profile. Otherwise, if you go onto Backer Buddy, you can
Mhm.
search Help Laren Lift Commonwealth Champs. Um, so the link is there. And then I'm also setting up a raffle in the next day or so, where you can win a 3-month nutrition coaching package with Tom from Silverback Nutrition. And then
Awesome.
I am also tentatively looking to maybe host a weightlifting workshop at the Den, but that is still to be confirmed.
Okay, fantastic. And how is the fundraising been going? Are you feeling optimistic, or do we need to kick people's butts?
No, it has been going really well.
Okay, good.
The responses that I've got has been overwhelming. I'm actually about halfway now, which is incredible, because I have only had this campaign going for about 2 weeks now. So that's very exciting. Um, and yes, we have, I think, about 2 months or
Mm-hmm.
month, 2 months. We have 2 months until the competition. So yeah, I'm just basically any help or any shares or anybody that you can put me in touch with. Every little
Yeah.
bit helps.
I think
Yes, thank you.
we found you because somebody shared your post, and
Yes.
don't ask me who. I've gone blank, but and that's really what it's about. It's about athletes supporting other athletes and helping them get stuff done, because the more people that can achieve, and getting there is the achievement. And I've stood on a podium with my country's flag around my shoulders and a gold medal around my neck. And, looked left and looked right, and I was the only one up there. But the truth is, and as my coach said to me at the time, it's fine, you gotcha. It doesn't matter whether you're competing against everyone in that division in every country that's competing, or you're on your own. You got there, and the fact that you're working so hard to get there is the reason that I reached out, because I know what it takes, and I wanted to chat to you and just say, listen, guys, let's get behind it. Let's share the story. Let's share the journey, because it can only benefit all of us when athletes get that experience and they come back and they talk about it and they share and how it changes things. And hopefully every school will be hitting you up in the region and saying, hey, can you come and chat to our girls? Can you come and chat to our guys? Because I really do think, particularly with the girls, they need role models in strength and
Yes.
in just that beautiful rage and anger where you're allowed to show. You can turn that anger on and turn it off, and it's there for a purpose, and your strength is there for a purpose. So I think absolutely phenomenal. Now on to my 4 fun questions. I need hang on, let's do that. There will be there we go. Okay. I always wanted to be a 1970s DJ, but okay. All right. So first, the 3 of the 4 questions are fun. One is a little bit more serious. First one, fun. What do you love about weightlifting?
Can it be as simple as I love the snatch?
Sure, 100%. Listen, I have the mobility and flexibility of a concrete pier. And when I got mine overhead, when they eventually did, by the way, when I say easy to like to stand up, my best snatch is 50. So I just want to put that out there. Okay. And my shoulder mobility from too much jujitsu, it's not good. So I understand that completely. What drives you mad about weightlifting?
Oh, sure. What drives me mad? That's a
Doesn't
really
have to be
difficult
serious.
question. Um, I don't know. You've actually made me blank now. And there are so many tough days. There are so many tough days, but what
Yeah.
makes me mad? Mm, is when you add 1 kilo to a bar and then suddenly you can't lift it anymore.
Yeah. Okay. 100%. I got it. For me, it's that number of that 197.5 that I can't break in the deadlift. And so I don't the understanding of the value of 1 kilo, of how
Yes.
heavy it can absolutely be.
How
Awesome.
heavy is 1 kilo?
How heavy is 1 kilo? That's it. Cool. Third question, a little bit more serious, not too serious. What has weightlifting given you?
What has it given me? An indomitable will.
Sure. That's that's like the greatest
Okay.
gift you can give yourself, right?
Yes.
We have a comment here, by the way, from Zandre. She's not lying.
Oh, with the 1 kilo.
Yep.
Super light, super light.
Make it light. When anyone shouts at you, lightweight, you can say Ronnie was a power lifter, not a weightlifter. Oh, fantastic. But I love that indomitable will. Think if we could give more youth, more people an indomitable will, this will be a far better country and world for all of us. Absolutely. Lastly, and I got inspired by the Ice Bucket Challenge. Don't worry, it doesn't involve cold water, just the nominations. Who would you like to nominate for us to chat to on the podcast?
Well, I definitely think you need to chat to Matthew Hearn if you haven't
Cool.
chatted to him already.
We will
I
chat to
think
the
he's
Hearn, not
definitely
yet. Yep.
he he will have some things to say.
Fab. Anyone else?
Um, you can also chat to Will Smith. Will Smith. Smith.
Hmm?
William.
Okay.
Yes, he's also another South African weightlifter, but he's on the men's side. I think he's currently sitting at the top of the men's leaderboard, so I think
Awesome.
it might also help him to create some awareness.
Brilliant. If you could fire off their profiles on DM, I'd appreciate that. And then we'll reach
Perfect.
out to them. Laren, really, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome to chat to you, and really wishing you all the best. Hoping, you got to get there. You got to get to Commonwealth. And I look forward to chatting to you after India so we can start the process again for Commonwealth Games, because that is going
Uh,
to be even more
yes,
fun.
but
Huh?
yes. So I don't, as I understand it, you
Mm,
don't have to fundraise for Commonwealth Games
okay.
because
Yeah.
SASPAC will choose you. So it's just this one that is the one that I have
The
to
one we got to
fundraise
do
for,
for. Okay.
as far as I know. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Perfect. But we
But
still want
yes,
to
we
chat
must
to you after the
definitely
comp.
chat.
Absolutely. Even at the comp, after competing, if you're up for it. The
Okay.
wonders and joys of modern technology. So, is there anything you'd like to share? Anything you'd like to give a shout out? Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to just before we wrap up?
I'll see you later at training, Shan. I'm just going to leave it at
There we
that.
go. Love it. Absolutely. Lauren, thank you for your time. Thank you for making yourself available. We really, really do appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. We had a good turnout here. So it's kind of cool. And next we're going to be chatting with Trish Armstrong. I always get nervous when people deadlift 200 kilos as a master with a smile on their face. So yeah. All right, Larry. Thank you so much. Have an awesome,
Cheers.
awesome day. Bye-bye. Ciao. They're absolutely phenomenal. They're chatting with Laren Jeffries, fundraising to go to India to represent South Africa. Folks, if you can help or know people who can assist, please just look up her profile, DM her, get in touch, and support this fantastic South African athlete. Stay with us. We'll be back with you in about 10 minutes when we chat with the awesome, epic Trish Armstrong. And I have a story for Trish that we heard from our previous guest about saving a South African rugby player's life. So join us in 10 minutes, and we can't wait to hear that story. Thank you, guys.